Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Robin Yap, and welcome to another episode of Yap with Dr. Yap. I'm here with Dr. Guido Minaya and Susan Minaya to chat about their company, and they got these wonderful awards they can talk to you about. So I guess we'll start with introductions. Guido or Susan, who wants to start, let us know your
Sure.
background, who you are.
Great. My name is Guido Minaya, and I'm the CEO and Chief Learning Officer for Minaya Learning Global Solutions. My goodness, we've been around since about 2007, and it's been fun just to see how serving our clients allows our company to evolve. My background, 25, 30 years in learning and development from AT&T as an instructor to a director of Latin America, then to Lucent Technologies, then to Avaya, then spun out to Accenture. And then as I finished up my MBA and my doctorate in California, we launched in 2007 Minaya Learning Global Solutions. So a nice array of experiences that led me to Asia and to handle global clients and meeting incredible L&D professionals along the way. And yeah, it's all led to today being here with you, Robin.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Guido. How about you, Susan?
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Minaya. I'm the COO and Chief Learning Strategist of Minaya Learning Global Solutions. So I guess really I kind of fell into learning and development like 30 years ago almost. Oh my gosh, I feel like it's been quite a journey. But and really came into it from the business side. And so then I started working with American Express really, and I've done every role, I think, in learning and development along this journey. So I've done everything from instructional design and development, project management, program management at large scale initiatives. I've led a learning organization for AAA of Northern California, Nevada, and Utah, which was an awesome role to play. I had so much fun. It was like, I just had so much license to do things there. And it was really very invigorating. And so that's really where, for me, strategy became really important. And so that's really a key thing for me. So in our company, I really focus with clients on consultative work with them in the learning and development space for large program initiatives and also learning strategy development.
That's great. Such a wide breadth of experiences. I love it. So as leaders of a growing and thriving company, can each of you provide one learning that you've had that can assist our new entrepreneurs as they engage with their customers, their staff, their product suites?
Sure. Do you want to start, Susan?
Sure. Well, I mean, if I look at it from like what the learnings along the way, I think if I look at it as staff, because I really do in our company, I wear the HR hat. So I have a lot of HR experience and background and credential through SHRM for that. So I've just sort of, it's a natural fit for me, especially with talent development. And I guess I would say for people that are entrepreneurs starting their own companies, really act like a big company, so think like a big company when you're putting your company together. It's very easy if you start out as a contractor, you're kind of running your business, but really run it like a high-level professional when you're interacting with your clients. And I think, especially when you look at staff, it's so important as you're hiring people on, have the processes in place that where you look like a big company, your interview processes, what are you offering them? Have structure to your onboarding for them, what you're going to do to get them up to speed on your company and the kinds of things that you're doing, so they're in lockstep with the work that they're doing. I just think that that's so important. And I think also it's just really create win-win engagement opportunities for staff in your company, because sometimes, it's like everybody pitches in to do the work. So give them incentives for, really wanting to perform well in the organization. And, there's a lot of support out there through different groups, like SHRM has a lot of information that's accessible to you. There's a lot of consultative people for smaller businesses getting started that can provide a lot of insight around how to create that structure. So I think if you're, from a young entrepreneur bringing on staff or other people, that would be my guidance.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
How about
and
you,
I think
Guido?
from my perspective, and it's even two of our values, right? Adaptability and collaboration. I know early on, as when we were first evolving, we looked into, and I was part of a chamber in California, so we work closely with the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, and I'm sure every country and every county and every province has similar entities, and most of their services are provided at no cost to the entrepreneur. So really leveraging their expertise as we grew, and as we were deciding important next steps, we would seek a consultation with them, and they gave us, a broader, more experienced view of that kind of a decision. And then along the way, I think adaptability is we're blessed to be in a field that is ever changing. And my goodness, I know back 30 years ago working with AT&T, and I had a relationship with the Bell Labs at the time, and they actually came out with a product called BitRoom, and it was a virtual instructor-led platform, right? So our learning organization started using this maybe how long ago, maybe 15, 20, 25 years ago. And then AT&T decided, nah, doesn't have any future. We're not interested in it. And then to be in today's time doing this Zoom call, and for our clients, virtual instructor-led, adaptability is crucial. And now with the pandemic, my goodness, you've got to be able to pivot, help your client pivot with your client, provide guidance with your client on pivoting, and it's just the new normal, right? Being adaptable.
I think, really when you look at like how you're interacting with your client, I think, one thing that, people in learning and development really, I think in general, have a tendency towards wanting to share, wanting to help other people be successful. So I think it's sort of in our DNA. But it's really like as you're looking to build your client base, it's really, don't think of it as a sale, kind of have that servant mentality, if you will, about how can I be of help, or what can I do to help you? And then do that with integrity. And as Guido was saying, adaptability, because they're going to have changing business needs, and don't be rigid with that, so when you find that you're helping them solve business problems and you do that effectively, more business will come, and you don't have to stress about the sales piece, of keeping your business alive.
Right. Wow, that's really valuable information for our viewers, I'm sure. So tell us more about not just one, you have two of these Brandon Hall Awards. It's very exciting. Yay. Maybe let our viewers know, what are the Brandon Awards, and maybe what were the solutions that got you to these awards?
Sure. Brandon Hall, my goodness, it's like the Oscars of our industry, right? Both internationally well-known, highly coveted awards, and when you're not necessarily competing with, but in the company of firms all over the world, Fortune 500s, top global firms, their L&D teams partnering with other firms. And it is definitely the best of the best. And they do an incredible job of having multiple categories in the Brandon Hall Awards that potentially you and your client could vie for. And what we found is, again, being as we evolved, we started as a tier 2 provider. So there was a much larger training organization that would bring on that client, and then that much larger training organization would bring us on to assist. So although we've been part of many award-winning projects, we were never able to apply directly because we were the second tier. As we moved into having direct clients, that opened the door for us to apply for these awards. I think Susan would share, a great one that we won.
Yeah, so the one that we did was for our client in the healthcare industry, and it was for, it was all around a role of charge nurse leaders, which, in healthcare, the charge nurse is the person in charge on a given unit in a hospital. They're the main people that are air traffic control for everything, and it's a big responsibility. And in this healthcare organization, they had done a lot of work of looking at, the role, because people just sort of got plopped in that role without preparation for it, because there's a lot of leadership skills that are required in that role in any given day, and people just really weren't prepared for it. So they decided to take a more intentional approach to how they did it. So before they brought us on, they had done a lot of focus groups with nurses and other things like that, to kind of really determine like what were the gaps and what did we need that was important for them to be effective in the role. And it was really around leadership. And what was very unique about the program, it's the first time that like clinical nursing was partnered with leadership. And so you had these two pieces of the learning organization, clinical learning and leadership development side of the house, partnering together, collaborating to create this curriculum. And so that really hasn't been done anywhere else in the country. And so the client was super excited about that. And so we really focused on developing leadership skills around communication, around and just how do I want to say, professional skills, right? So conflict management, because one day I'm your friend and peer, the next day I'm in charge and I have to tell you that you didn't do that right, or you didn't, so it's like, how do you do that effectively? Because, people in healthcare are a lot like people in learning and development, we're very touchy feely, we're very sensitive, we care a lot about, and so those things were really important for them to be able to learn how to navigate that. Then there was also like leadership, leading others we had, and also the patient experience. So there was a form of the strategic, introducing to them the strategic priorities of the healthcare organization and their role in really helping them achieve that through patient experience. So these were like 6 courses done once a week over a 6-week period, and basically people had to apply for it. And it ultimately became it is a pipeline to nursing leadership within the healthcare organization. So if they really elevated that role, it was super exciting to be a part of that, because, they got their charge nurse leader badges and their coats, because, it was really, they were trying to make it a role that people wanted. And before, people didn't want it because they just sort of felt like they were thrown in the mosh pit. So it was really a very rewarding project to work on.
Yes, it was a lot of, and it was just funny. We the way they announce the award winners is it's on a webinar, and then they invite you to their gala event a little later that following year. So we're waiting for Lee Health was the name of our client, right? And they go alphabetical. So A's, maybe 20 people win a bronze, a silver, a gold. B, C's, D. So they get to the L's, and they come up with their first award winner, which is L'Oreal. And we thought, we didn't win, because Lee is, before L'Oreal. And then we saw how they spelt L'Oreal. It was apostrophe L. So then we were like, first we were sad, then we were like jumping up. But it's such a, and then the gala event is just, and we recently found out that we won a bronze for this upcoming gala coming up. And we're up for another award in December, another Brandon Hall Award in December. So.
For more an assessment platform. So, we're starting, it's really a lot of fun to do. And I think it really, our clients appreciate it too, because, we kind of take on the ownership of really crafting the story and what we did. And, I think you really have to have strong relationships with your clients to be able to do this in a way. And they were very gracious to, because they could have submitted on their own. They were very gracious to partner with us on that. So.
That is amazing. Oh my goodness. I would have loved to see what happened there. So let's switch gears a little bit to partnerships, because I know you partner with various companies, and especially since now you're global, like everywhere. How do you build strong partnerships, especially when there's varying cultures, varying work ethics? How do you manage all of that?
Yeah, it's, I think going back to, I think for each of us, regardless of our experience in L&D, you may work for, a more local company within a particular region of your country, or your company might be national, or your company might be international, right? Those relationships that you build over time, that you may have met, an instructional designer that you worked with closely 10 years ago, or an instructor that you worked with 5 or 15 years ago. That is really the gold, because the network that you have, just like, we see in LinkedIn and throughout our careers, it's your network that really propels your career forward. and we leverage our network. So fortunately, based on our experiences, we've got colleagues in Asia, in Europe, in Latin America. And when we need to help, let's say, create a project team around a certain sector, we're able to go to that field of colleagues, that network of colleagues, and say, is this something that would interest you? Can you recommend someone if by chance you're not available? And that's how we build our network. And then that's led to us understanding who partnering companies might be in those fields because they were recommended by some of our colleagues. And of course, we go through a very important vetting process, but that's how we've just continued to build, and even now, how we continue to build our and scale our company.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Susan,
and I
anything
would
else?
say, yeah, I think I would say too that, like, the partners that we have when we were tier two, you could call them competition, but we never really use that word because it's sort of like co-opetition, right? Because in my perspective, there's so much opportunity out there. We don't need to compete, yeah, because there's just plenty of business to be able to help people with that kind of stuff. So I think we tend to look at the primes that we've worked with, who are people in our industry that do what we do, and sometimes we really are collaborators, and that's the way I like to look at it. And we take those relationships very seriously. While over time, maybe we started out as a tier two, but now we're both, even if we're vying for the same, kind of contract or something like that, at the end of the day, we can still be supportive with each other in different ways, right? Whether they might tap me for learning strategy, we tap them for development. We decide to go in together to get our team for resourcing around the globe for delivery. So there's always opportunity to be able to do that collaborative kind of relationship with our co-opetition, if you will. And I think that that's really important to do that. And we, every year when we're doing our strategic planning, we look at all of these partnerships that we have, and we do a SWOT with all of them. So it's like, where are we now with them? And sometimes your relationships evolve to where the relationship's sort of over, and that's okay. That's like a natural cycle of events, but in other areas, it continues to grow, or it may morph into something completely different. So I think that's the one thing on the partnerships, and that diversity of partners that we have is really helpful for us because, even though we do a lot of things and provide a lot of services and are practitioners and get this business, there's always sometimes design and development is the key thing, and there's all kinds of business there, not so much for delivery, and then sometimes it's delivery and not so much for development. And so it's just always good to have an array of partners to be able to work with, and contractors and collaborators to be able to fulfill the client needs.
I like that term, co-opetition.
Me
I love
too.
it. That's really cool. I like that. Now, I imagine that there may be times when there's clashes of perspectives just because of varying cultural backgrounds and probably different work expectations. How do you resolve that whenever there's kind of those issues happening?
Sure, and I think it's being as transparent as you can be with your partners and your contractors, and if there's something that the client is unhappy with, I mean, we're the voice of the client. Where appropriate, we bring in our team members, our contractors, our partners in to have those discussions with our clients. So really, they're hearing it directly from the client. And even though it might not be an easy solution, we then offline would work through what's the best way that we can both support the client. Because I think most of our collaborators know that if we serve the client well, that's really the goal, because there's more and more opportunity there. And every time we've taken that approach and explained that to our contractors or collaborators, they are happy to assist. So I think it's being transparent and making sure that you're the voice of the customer, as well as including them and hearing directly as appropriate.
Right.
Susan, anything else there?
Yeah, and I think, when we talk about the conflict piece, it's like Guido was saying. I think it's really setting the right expectations up front for the relationship, or the expectation of the project and the role that you're playing, how you're going to be on this role, and I think it's really incumbent on. And for our contractors, certainly it's incumbent on us to be able to set those expectations and be clear about that. And I think with our partners, if we're pulling them in and it's our project, it's incumbent on us to create that kind of that contract of our working agreements, how we go forward. So I think that's the best you can do. And like Guido said, it's like when there's discord, the best thing to do is to connect, right? And to talk about it and to put it out on the table, because everyone has a perspective, right? So not every, and you have to really learn to appreciate, this is my perspective, what is your perspective, and kind of learn how to leave the emotion out of it, if you can.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And there are certain times, right, where, to your point, Robin, like culturally, it just isn't an easy fix. So given that it's our client, we make those appropriate adjustments so that the client's happy. And we look to make those adjustments so that our contractors are happy. Because we always understand that there may have been a certain situation that just won't work for someone in a different country for whatever reasons. And at the end of the day, it's up to us to make it right for the client.
That's so true, especially with the global workforce that we have right now.
Right, exactly.
So, switching to our forecasting hats, so I'm going to make you put your forecasting hat on and
Right.
maybe provide us with your thoughts on what the learning landscape looks like 5 years from now, or even beyond, knowing, we've gone through pandemic now, and how do you, things would have changed, right? What are your thoughts around this?
Right. Well, I think our team, and we're actually working through our strategic planning process for 2021. So, looking at some of the research out there and some of it is pre-pandemic, but it's interesting how it applies to during the pandemic and post-pandemic. I mean, we're in an exciting time for L&D. I think prior to the pandemic, it was pegged at like 470 billion dollar market globally. There's of course, a number of players globally that are in the game, 600 plus. And I was a little surprised that the number was that small. I thought, there's thousands of people out there. So that's exciting that the market's like that. Um, and, and and as companies have to almost go through a pendulum, right, of how much staff do they have in the L&D team, or how much do they outsource? We believe there's going to be more of a reliance on strategic partners from large companies, from companies that require our kinds of services. The research also shows that the managed learning services approach to handling a project end to end is going to grow, right? So having the ability to have multiple services that you offer and could put them all together for a client's need seems to be something that's going to grow, and grow. Whereas before we may have seen some of that for very large projects that only the largest training and development companies would win. Now I think that's available to mid-size and smaller firms, right? And I think that the virtual nature of whether we're looking at Zoom at a basic level to competency assessments, everything that has to do with a more virtualized solution to how we've handled L&D in the past is going to continue to grow. And we're seeing that in some of the solution sets and product suites that we're developing. And we're seeing not a future, let's say, win for those. We're seeing immediate wins for those. So that's right now we're up to 2 platforms, and we're looking at a couple of others that are again platforms that our clients could access virtually, right? So the virtualization of the services that we provide, I think, is going to continue to grow.
Yeah, and I think to your point about the platforms, like when you look at just an example, like how for the healthcare industry, it has to do competency assessments, you know, that, to be able to meet the state standards and show that you're able to do that. You know, how can you do that in a COVID environment? You can't come together. A lot of times these are very manual processes, and so our Engage Them platform for the assessment was a way to quickly turnkey and create online assessments and take and really they didn't miss a beat. Like they still were within the same time frame. They were able to do the things they needed to do. And I think from learning and development companies that are providing services really need to understand how work changes for the industry or the businesses that they're serving, because that's where you're going to be able to go. I mean, you know, everybody realizes virtual is there, but sooner or later, we will get ILT back. And trust me, people are going to want to go back there because they love that and they miss it a lot, you know? So, but it's like, how do you continue to make the products or services that you provide, whether it's in talent or in content or things like that, flexible to be able to kind of support the ambiguities I think that we have about the future of work. Because I think we're still trying to figure that out with the pandemic right now, you know, and I mean, especially in the healthcare industry, they're hyper vigilant about it's not next month or next year, it's longer, you know. So, and I think we have to be mindful of that. And like Guido was saying, the platforms that are a great way to be able to provide those kind of learning experiences for people. And this industry is awesome because it's like we always are in a good place in learning and development, because like, you know, when organizations are outsourcing or businesses down, they need us because they have to augment, right? Or if they're super great and they've got so much stuff going on inside the organization, they need us because they have so much overflow work. So, you know, I think regardless, I'm never a person who gets too super excited about, I love technology, but I don't let that drive the solution results for my client. It's like, what's right for you, right? When we look at it. And, but I think the things that Guido brought up really about being that flexibility and the platforms and really managing to their work is and needs for how their world's changing is where we need to
Yeah,
focus.
and I think in the past we saw, certain companies that did the technology piece very well, other companies that did the instructional design piece very well, other companies that did the instructor delivery piece really well. Now the solution sets are blending all of those. And as they become a little bit more complex to do that kind of a blend, clients are hoping and expecting that the partners that they bring on board will be able to help them through all of that, right? And not necessarily turnkey, still quite a bit of collaboration so that it's absolutely tailored to their environment, but they're going to want knowledgeable partners. So that's why our field is so much fun, because there's always something else to learn, some other way that you can potentially provide a great solution to a client and make your company even stronger because now you have other capability sets.
That's amazing. Thank you. Now,
It's really
now, I have a question for both of you when it comes to our students. So we have students in the HR and learning and development streams. What would be your kind of wisdom and suggestion that they should kind of focus on in not just their learning, but in their own way of addressing how what the world would look like when they graduate, and what would be that skill that they need to have the you want to make sure they remember.
sure. Well, I mean, I think we see this in many counties, states, countries, right? That one of the top skills that they don't we haven't easily seen provided at in a university career, right, is collaboration, right? How do you collaborate with your fellow students, professors, and potential internships that you'll do to build out your collaboration skills? And collaboration, in fact, it is so exciting to see collaboration not only at the student level, but at the senior leadership level. We're working, and Susan can speak to this, on a very exciting project where we have a program called Radical Collaboration. And Susan, do you want to share a little bit about that in terms of how collaboration is such an important skill set?
Well, sure. I mean, it's like if you think about it, right? So from what we're doing with more of a senior leadership team, but it's really applicable anywhere. And you look at the 5 principles, and it's based on Jim Tam's book, Radical Collaboration. So it's like essential, right? So it's like around openness, collaborative intent, just being able to make people feel safe and psychologically secure. And there's a lot of components of that that really make people flexible and good partners in the workplace, right? So, and not only so that we work well together, but so that we get work done, right? So that it's sort of like Stephen Covey's The Speed of Trust, So when you have trust, like things just get done. Things are smoother, it's more fluid. We don't have all these barriers and political games that we're playing. We're really trying to understand one another's point of view and be able to come together to really come up with great solutions to help us achieve business goals for the organization. So that's really kind of what that piece is all about. But it's interesting that you say that, Guido, about that.
Right. So the sooner they can begin that collaboration skill set that they're developing, of course, communications is critical, collaboration is critical, but we're finding more and more that you may be an incredible technical superstar in the field that you've chosen, but your collaboration and communication skills may not be there. And for L&D, it is crucial because we have so many facets of our business that we're not going to be the only person that knows it all. You need like a small army, right?
Yeah, and I think we do a lot of times with just community give back and service with the chambers and stuff like that. We always support with the leadership piece, their leadership academies that they have, and so there's always a piece about kind of talent development and continuing their growth and education, and really it's along like, what do I need to do for my career, right? So it's like I think in talking to people in the learning and development space, if that's specifically who I'm talking to, it's like what's important to you? Like, where do your passions lie? Because, a lot of people come, what do I need to do to get ready for this kind of a role? And it's like, you have so many resources out there. You have Association for Talent Development that just has a brand new capabilities model that came out that really is very all-inclusive. And it's like, you can go on and take a free assessment and kind of look and see how do you rank? So where are you really doing good and where might you need to shore up, right, on your capability development. And really some of that is just getting in and doing the work. You have to learn by doing, right? And then for the HR stuff, again, there's different certifications that you can get, but it's like join organizations so that you begin to associate with other people that are in the business world. So if you're still a student, it doesn't mean don't constrict yourself to the student world, right? That's kind of a bubble sometimes, get yourself out into chambers, get yourself out into these different organizations, because there's ATD chapters all over the world, right? So join it, go see what it's like, because there you're going to meet business people, and you might actually meet someone who's your future employer, so these are great opportunities.
And many of them have young professional committees or teams that we've seen so many that are still in the university and are part of the young professionals group, and they're learning what else they might be interested in through those types of organizations.
Yeah, and I think there's so much that's available through different groups and associations like eLearning Guild out there. I love them for techie stuff, on the work of learning and development. So I usually encourage our staff all have memberships there to Association for Talent Development. Because you just, and they go to the meetings routinely. We just make that part of our company's culture that, get out there, get exposed, see what's new and current and what's going on in this space, because learning theory is super essential. It's really important to understand that, but it's how do you apply that, that's different.
That is amazing. I'm sure students would love that. Thank you so much. That's pretty much it for us. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. And It's a lovely day outside. Hopefully it
It
is in,
is.
your side as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
it was the first day we actually wore a sweater today
Sweaters.
because it's very cold, about 70 degrees here, so it's
Yeah.
very
Of
cold.
course it's 70 degrees when it's the first time we actually did not have to wear a sweater on this side.
Robin,
Wonderful.
thank you for having us. We really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you so
It was
much,
fun
Robin.
talking with you.
All right. Thanks. Have a good day.
All right,
You too.
likewise.
Thank you.